What's up guys, I'm Smitty and this is my first YouTube video. I'm planning to post all sorts of content on here, so if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe for even more content in the future. It's completely free and it helps out my channel a lot. Anyways, let's get right into the video. I'm recording this video before Game 5 of the NBA Finals, and since the Lakers are up 3-1 in the series, I think it's safe to say they'll win the NBA championship. But could things have gone differently if Kawhi Leonard stayed with the Toronto Raptors? Stay tuned to find out. Unless you've been living under a rock, you know that last NBA offseason, Kawhi Leonard left the defending NBA champs, the Toronto Raptors, inside of the Los Angeles Clippers to pair up with Paul George and company. On paper, the Los Angeles Clippers were destined to go to the NBA Finals, but in real life, things didn't work out. They lost to the Denver Nuggets in the second round. However, the team he left, the Toronto Raptors, also made it to the second round before getting beat by the Celtics. Do I think that Kawhi made a bad decision leaving Toronto? Of course I do. Do I think the Raptors would have won the chip? Potentially. Let's break it all down. Starting off with the second round of the playoffs, the Raptors were beat by the Celtics in 6 games. With Kawhi Leonard dropped into the Raptors rotation, this outcome would definitely be different. When comparing teams, I usually look at both teams' big three, the top 10 players in the series, dominance inside and outside the paint, and their bench players and coaches. Then I'll make a conclusion to the series based on these aspects. For each team's big three, I think the Raptors have far superior stars. For the top 10 players in the series, I give it a tie since it is too close to determine who has a better 5. Sure, Toronto has Kawhi, but down the line, Hayward and Smart are both significantly better than OG. I believe that the Raptors would dominate the paint in the series on offense and defense. The Raptors have many quality bigs such as Ibaka and Gasol. Even though Tice played great throughout the playoffs, the Celtics don't have a good enough backup big man that can play 20 plus minutes. However, outside the paint, the Celtics outclass the Raptors on offense. Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart, Jason Tatum, and Jaylen Brown are all lethal from outside the paint and beyond the arc. But on defense outside the paint, it is very close. Therefore, I decided it to be a tie. Kawhi and OG are prolific perimeter defenders, along with Lowry's ability for stealing the ball and taking charges anywhere on the court. Both teams have top-notch bench players and coaching staff, so I respectively decided it to be a tie. All things included, I would predict the Raptors to win this series in 6 games. The next team the Raptors would have gone up against this postseason is the Miami Heat in the conference finals. The Miami Heat are a fast-paced team with a lot of heart. They beat the team with the best record in the league, the Milwaukee Bucks, led by Giannis Antetokounmpo, the reigning MVP. Despite Miami's heart and hustle, I believe the Raptors with Kawhi would have a favorable matchup against them. Kawhi is a bona fide Jimmy Butler, and the Heat don't have anyone with a favorable matchup against Siakam. When looking at both teams' big three, it is pretty clear that the Raptors have an edge. The Raptors even dominate on the top 10 players list, despite the Heat having a lot of good role players. Inside the paint, it's a pretty even matchup, with the Raptors being significantly better on defense and the Heat offensively. However, outside the paint, I have to give the edge to the Heat. Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson are prolific shooters beyond the arc, and Jimmy Butler has a fantastic mid-range game. Both teams have amazing perimeter defenders, the Raptors with Kawhi and OG, and the Heat with Butler and Iguodala. Both teams have great bench players and coaching staff that cancel each other out. All in all, I would predict the Raptors to win this series in 6 games, in similar fashion to the last series. And finally, the Raptors would face off against the Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA Finals. The Lakers are a two-headed monster, led by LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Looking at both teams' big threes, it is obvious that the Lakers have superior stars. It doesn't matter who you sub in for the third spot in the Lakers' big three, LeBron and Anthony Davis are an unmatched duo in the NBA. At a glance, the Raptors take the lead over the Lakers in the top 10 players list. Pascal, Lowry, and VanVleet are all significantly better than Rondo and Dwight, and this alone pushes them over the edge. In this series, it's obvious that the Lakers would dominate inside the paint. Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, JaVale Money McGee, and LeBron James all state their presence in the paint. These guys can make buckets and block them too. On the other hand, the Raptors are significantly better from outside the paint. Lowry, VanVleet, and Norman Powell are adept shooters and floor generals that are able to create offense from outside. not to mention the Raptors' copious amounts of perimeter defenders. Both teams have great bench players and coaches. Personally, I think the Raptors' bench players are slightly better than the Lakers, but not enough to give me a deciding factor on who tips the scale. So I decided to go more in depth on the head-to-head matchups in order to determine the better squad. Firstly, I wanted to look at both teams' guards. After doing some research, it is obvious that the Raptors' guards are far superior to the Lakers, which backs up my belief that they would dominate the series from the perimeter. Lowry, VanVleet, and Norm are all starter caliber or better point guards. This allows Nick Nurse to rotate the offense through all of them at various times. At almost all times, the Raptors have two floor generals on the court, which allows them to set up their offense quicker and more efficiently. As for the Lakers, this is their weakest department. They don't have any starter quality point guards, which forces them to facilitate their offense through LeBron. Rondo is a good backup floor general to LeBron, but he could never create offense for the team by himself. Secondly, I wanted to look at both teams' forwards and centers. At a glance, the Lakers seem to have far better big men than the Raptors, but with further research, they don't seem to be much better at all. In fact, the Raptors' wings and big men average more points per game than the Lakers in the regular season. Obviously, we have to take into account that it is the regular season and that Siakam dropped off this year in the playoffs. However, I believe that with the assistance of Kawhi, it would have alleviated the offensive load from Siakam, allowing him to perform better. Despite the close numbers, it's safe to say that Anthony Davis would not be stopped in this series unless the Raptors play Gasol and Ibaka at the same time. Finally, let's look at the matchup of LeBron and Kawhi. Using Kawhi's stats from his Raptors championship run, it's blatant how dominant he was. At this point in the analysis, the Lakers would need LeBron to be significantly better than Kawhi in order to justify them winning this series. The Raptors' guards are so much better than the Lakers, and frankly, the Lakers' big men aren't that much more dominant than the Raptors. From looking at the numbers from last postseason, I cannot say that LeBron is significantly better, if not any better than Kawhi. Personally, I would rather have LeBron on my team if I was nitpicking, but Kawhi is just as productive on offense and defense when in the Raptors system. In conclusion, I believe that the Raptors would have beat the Lakers in 7 games respectively, and they would have defended their title as NBA champions. This would have painted a completely different picture of the NBA for Kawhi, LeBron, and the Raptors' legacies. Who knows what could have happened after? Would the Raptors three-peat? Would Siakam take the next step in 2021? Unfortunately, this scenario isn't the case, and Kawhi Leonard is stuck with playoff B and a bunch of role players. Sorry, Clippers fans. Comment down below if you agree with my analysis, or anything you'd change or disagree with. I'd love to see your guys' thoughts on this situation. Also, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like it and subscribe to my channel to stay updated for future posts. Peace out.